Vil Goros, a 63-year-old cattle farmer and trader, was residing in eastern Romania at the time of his mysterious disappearance. Known for his frequent business trips, Vil had already purchased a train ticket for his journey on that particular day in 1991. Despite his regular absences, he consistently maintained communication with his family and returned home as promised. However, this occasion proved to be different. After departing for his trip, he never came back. The police were notified, but they uncovered virtually no leads or clues regarding his case. As time progressed, Vil's family grew increasingly worried, with days turning into weeks, months, and eventually years. They reluctantly accepted the grim reality that they might never see him again, coming to terms with the possibility that if he had passed away, it may not have been in a peaceful or accidental manner. Over the years, the family held regular memorial services to honor his memory and mourned his absence. In a surprising twist, on August 29, 2021, 30 years after his disappearance, a car arrived at their home and outstepped a 93-year-old Vil, wearing the same clothes he had on the day he vanished. He had no new belongings or luggage, and his family discovered his train ticket from the day of his disappearance and his identification in his pocket. Remarkably, he appeared to be in good health, showing no signs of neglect or mistreatment. Notably, Vil was not in the driver's seat of the car, which sped away before anyone could inquire about the driver. Unfortunately, relatives could not recall the license plate number. When asked about his whereabouts over the past 3 decades, the 93-year-old simply replied, "Home." Upon his examination by a physician following his return to his family, he was reported to be in excellent health, with the exception of some neurological concerns that were deemed typical for someone of his age. His memories from prior to his disappearance were largely intact, although he struggled to recognize his 2 children, likely due to the significant passage of time. His wife had passed away, and he was born in 1928 to well-established and respected merchants. Despite inquiries regarding his absence, he could not recall the events of August 1991, when he left home for a routine business trip. In the absence of clear answers, amateur sleuths on social media have proposed various theories. Some speculate that he may have chosen to abandon his previous life for a new one, possibly with a romantic partner, and returned to reconcile before his health declined. Others suggest he might have spent 3 decades in prison, a notion supported by the fact that he was found wearing the same clothes he had on the day he vanished. Another theory posits that he was kidnapped and forced into manual labor for 30 years. His son initially failed to recognize him, stating to local media, "We do not understand him, he does not comprehend what he is saying." He speaks to us about a time when he was involved in raising and selling cattle. We ask him one question, and he responds with something entirely different. Who knows where he has been or who kept him? Perhaps he was compelled to work, who can say what kind of life he endured? The circumstances surrounding Vil's whereabouts from 1991 to 2021 remain enigmatic. Gabriel Nagy was last seen on January 21, 1987, in Sydney, Australia. At the time, he was an accounting student attending night classes while working during the day. Gabriel was also a father to 2 young children, 9-year-old Jennifer and 11-year-old Stephen. On the day he vanished, he called his wife, Pam, to inform her that he would be home for lunch. Although Pam prepared a meal for him, Gabriel never returned. The following day, investigators contacted the family after discovering Gabriel's car abandoned and burned on the roadside. Concerned for his safety, Pam filed a missing person report. Gabriel was known for his reliability, he consistently fulfilled his commitments and was punctual. If he ever experienced a delay, he would always make a call. The fact that he failed to return home and that his car was found abandoned caused Pam great distress. In the weeks that followed, extensive searches were conducted for Gabriel, and missing person posters were distributed. Upon reviewing the couple's financial records, police found that the 46-year-old had withdrawn cash from an ATM in Newcastle, approximately 93 miles from Sydney. This was the only lead in the investigation. Pam could not explain Gabriel's presence in Newcastle, and investigators were unable to find any additional information. Gabriel Nagy remained a missing person for 2 decades, during which time his children grew into adulthood and started families of their own. Although the family eventually relocated in the years following his disappearance, Pam continued to hold on to hope. They consistently ensured their registration in the phone book, anticipating that Gabriel might wish to make contact. However, as the years stretched from 2 to 5, then 10, and eventually 20, they came to the realization that the situation was more dire than they had initially perceived. Remarkably, just 2 weeks prior to Gabriel being declared deceased, the lead detective assigned to his case opted to conduct one final review. During this investigation, she uncovered a Medicare record under Gabriel's name. Consequently, authorities arrived at Gabriel's residence, where he was then known as Ron Sanders, residing nearly 1,000 miles from the location where his vehicle had been discovered abandoned. Gabriel had no recollection of his past. He had been earning a living through various odd jobs on fishing vessels and construction sites. He explained that he had been living as Ron Sanders for an extended period but had recently regained awareness of his true identity. He also remembered being in Newcastle, the site where his car was located, and had sustained a head injury that resulted in bleeding. He displayed a scar on the back of his head, which led him to suspect he might have been experiencing memory loss. The last 2 decades of his life had not been without hardship. He had occasionally found himself sleeping on the streets or at the beach and had relied on alcohol as a coping mechanism. A local pastor had recently provided him with employment and accommodation, assisting Gabriel in obtaining a Medicare card when he required surgery. Gabriel would later recount to the Chronicle Mail that the detective posed numerous questions and began presenting him with photographs, likening the experience to a cartoon where flashbulbs illuminate the heads of individuals. She provided him with letters from Jennifer, Pam, and his father and stepmother. Later that day, Gabriel took a moment to compose replies to the letters he had received. In the days that followed, he received a text message from his daughter, which he vividly remembered as simply saying, "Hi Dad." That brief message was enough to bring him to tears, as she mentioned that she had completed the letter and still loved him. 10 minutes later, the phone rang, and it was Pam. They conversed until the phone's battery was depleted. It is widely accepted that Gabriel developed a memory loss condition known as dissociative fugue following his car accident. Although they do not reside together, Gabriel maintains regular communication with his wife, children, and parents. Mary Day, born in Little Falls, New York, in 1968, was the eldest of 3 children born to Charles and Charlotte Day. By all accounts, Mary's upbringing was fraught with challenges, as her mother frequently struggled to care for the children, leading to the sisters spending their formative years in various foster homes. Eventually, their parents divorced, and Charlotte remarried an Army soldier named William Hull, with whom she had 2 additional children. Charlotte managed to secure full custody of Mary and her sister Kathy, while their youngest sister, Cher, remained in foster care and was ultimately adopted by her foster family. In 1978, shortly after the family moved to Hawaii due to William's job, Mary and Kathy's biological father, Charles, tragically passed away in an accident, leaving the girls an inheritance they referred to by the codename Mohawk. In 1980, at the age of 12, Mary was removed from the custody of Charlotte and William after it was discovered that William had been physically abusing her, leading the family to relocate to Seaside, California. William's employment necessitated that Mary remain in Hawaii, where she was ultimately sent to reside once more with her mother and stepfather. Mary was last seen on July 15, 1981, yet her mother and stepfather never reported her missing. According to CBS, on the night of her disappearance, William physically assaulted Mary after accusing her of poisoning his ill dog. William and Charlotte later asserted that the 13-year-old was missing the following morning. When her sister Kathy inquired about her whereabouts, Charlotte simply stated that Mary had run away and instructed her never to ask about her again. In 1994, more than a decade after Mary's disappearance, her youngest sister Sherry filed a missing persons report. She later recounted to 48 Hours that when she questioned their mother about Mary, she received the same explanation she had given Kathy, that Mary had merely run away. In some accounts, Charlotte allegedly claimed that Mary had been using drugs and had turned to sex work, even stating that she had destroyed all photographs of her eldest daughter. Kathy would later inform her siblings that they were not permitted to discuss Mary. Following Sherry's filing of the missing persons report, little progress was made in the investigation into Mary's case. An age-progressed photograph of her was created and disseminated, but it was not until 2002 that a formal investigation into her disappearance commenced. Police discovered that neighbors in Seaside did not recall the 13-year-old and did not recognize her photograph, and it was revealed that Mary had not been enrolled in any school during her time in the town. Upon interviewing Kathy, investigators uncovered further details, including that her sister had been subjected to physical abuse by their mother. The night prior to her disappearance, Kathy's stepfather caused her to bleed from the mouth. Notably, Kathy had been expelled from the family home at the age of 14 and left to navigate life independently. Scher, on the other hand, informed the police that her mother had once mentioned knowledge of locations in California where a body could be buried without detection, leading Scher to suspect that Mary had been murdered. Both Charlotte and William provided inconsistent and deceptive accounts to investigators. Charlotte seemed to possess minimal information regarding her daughter's disappearance, asserting only that Mary had run away in 1981. She claimed that her husband had submitted a missing person report to the local police, yet no such record could be found. William stated that he had reported Mary missing through a phone call, but again, there was no evidence of this call. He later confessed to having assaulted Mary the night before her disappearance. Additionally, in 1983, Charlotte allegedly misled Scher by claiming that she and William had made extensive efforts to find Mary, including filing a missing person report, conducting searches, and distributing flyers, none of which were true. Speculation arose that the couple may have refrained from reporting Mary missing due to their receipt of her Social Security benefits at that time. During her police interview, Charlotte reportedly remarked that if Mary was deceased, then she was deceased. Kathy also disclosed to investigators that she and her siblings had been instructed to avoid a specific corner of the garden while playing outside. She guided authorities to that corner, where cadavered dogs reportedly detected a scent. A child's shoe was discovered among human remains during a police investigation, although no additional human remains were found at that time. Cadaver dogs subsequently alerted law enforcement to a location near the family's former residence in Fort, leading authorities to theorize that a body buried at the family's home in Seaside had been exhumed and relocated when they moved. The situation took a significant turn in 2005. While investigators were constructing a case against William and Charlotte in November of that year, a vehicle was stopped during a routine traffic check. The truck was found to have stolen license plates, prompting police to request identification from the passengers. One individual presented an Arizona state ID bearing the name Mary Day, along with her date of birth and other pertinent details. During questioning, the woman asserted that she was Mary Day, who had disappeared in 1981 at the age of 13, claiming she had fled her home to escape abusive parents. However, investigators expressed skepticism regarding her account, noting that she spoke with a pronounced Southern accent, which Mary did not possess as a teenager. Compounding the police's doubts was the fact that the Arizona ID had been issued just 3 weeks prior to her apprehension, coinciding with the commencement of the homicide investigation. Investigators opted to conduct a DNA test on the woman, comparing her genetic material to that of Charlotte, which confirmed that she was indeed Charlotte's biological daughter. Despite the DNA evidence, police maintained some reservations. Mary's sister, Sherry, extended an invitation for her to reside with her in North Carolina, leading to a reunion with Kathy, while numerous questions continued to linger. Sherry and the investigators were perplexed by Mary's pronounced Southern accent. Additionally, Sherry observed that her sister was receiving mail addressed to Monica Deo, which could have merely been an alias, as it shared the same initials as her actual name. Kathy also harbored doubts regarding Mary, as she did not recall their father leaving them an inheritance or the use of the code word Mohawk to reference it. Furthermore, she had no memory of William's claims that Mary had poisoned his dog. The police expressed their concerns about the case, suggesting that Mary might be a biological child of Charlotte, whom she and William had presented as Mary Day to evade legal consequences. They alleged that Charlotte had engaged in multiple affairs during her marriages and might have had a secret child. However, in 2017, Mary disclosed to a reporter that a woman named Marie Kimmel had taken her in shortly after she fled from home. Mary lived with Marie for a year before running away again. Marie's relatives provided investigators with a photograph of Mary from 1982, which confirmed that Charlotte and William had not killed her in 1981. Moreover, it was revealed that Mary required surgery in the months leading up to her discovery in 2005, which explained the issuance of her new state ID. A local nonprofit had assisted in locating her birth certificate to facilitate the ID acquisition. Following this revelation, investigators closed the case, and Sherry accepted that the woman identifying herself as Mary Day was indeed her sister. Mary passed away shortly thereafter in 2017 at the age of 49. Please feel free to leave a comment below your own thoughts and reactions, and remember to like this video and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.